some shades. Answer me when I'm talking to you.
Sorry, I don't really know where his head's at.
Wait, why is this joke familiar?
That's big. What did he say? What? What, you can't tell me?
Oh, well, nice try, Pixar. Pixar movies are considered to be some of the highest quality blockbuster animated movies to ever exist. But what is the ultimate Pixar movie? Introducing the ultimate Pixar tier list. For the next film in the ultimate Pixar tier list, we go on a mythical family quest in ONWARD. This film tells a story about two brothers trying to bring back their dead father for one day using magic. However, the world is a hybrid between the world we know today and a world filled with magic and mythical elves, monsters, and such. Does ONWARD tell a compelling story, or does its concept stand in the way of that? Yeah, ONWARD has a lot of problems, way more negatives than positives, but it does have a few really good positives, but alright, let's get to it. Let's start with the presentation. The animation is pretty good. I don't think that needs to be said. It's a pretty pretty good film animation-wise. However, I'm not a huge fan of the character designs. I'm not sure what it is. Well, I think I do know what it is, but I'll talk more about it later and when we get to the concept. I think the character design is just the problems I have with it are a symptom of the concept. But yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of the character designs. They kind of feel a little basic. They don't really, I think, stand out, or when they do stand out, they stand out maybe a little bit too much. They kind of feel a little bit uncanny, like they don't really match the tone of the film. Again, I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the animation is pretty good. I did notice a few times that some textures were a little weird. There's a couple shots that I specifically remember looking at, like characters like clothing, and the texture and their clothing was off. It did feel like a couple moments in this film, like there were, I just personally noticed, and I noticed in other Pixar films too, but I did notice it here, like there were a couple frames and a couple shots of poorly animated scenes, or shots rather. And, those slip under the radar, but it just felt like this film had a couple more than I usually notice. Alright, let's get to the concept of this film, because it's kind of hard to talk about anything else, even just trying to talk about the animation and character design was difficult. But the concept of this film is they basically take two different concepts, that of the modern world and that of the mythical sort of magical world, and combine them together. Basically like, oh, people used to live in this mythical magical world with magic, but then they kind of got lazy, stopped using their powers and cell phones, and now it's sort of the world we live in now, but filled with people who are magical. And the problem with this is it takes two concepts, merges them together, but doesn't do anything interesting with each concept individually. Like all the magical stuff and mythical stuff, like there's just really not enough of it, and it doesn't go deep enough to make it interesting. And the real world stuff really isn't that interesting on its own. Like it doesn't really add anything to the magic of the film. It doesn't really add anything to the film itself. So you kind of felt with like two incomplete concepts trying to be compatible to make like this cool concept. What if you mix like this mythical magical world with our world today, and it just doesn't really work for me. It doesn't really do anything different. It doesn't really add anything to different. It doesn't really make anything unique. It doesn't really do anything super clever with it. Like it just kind of feels like it's kind of the pitch idea they had and then just stuck with it. Like they try to poke jabs like, oh, like their van's like a horse scalloping, or they're going on this quest, but obviously like it's in the real world, so it's like you're seeing like the effects of the real world on this like mythical quest, and it's just I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of the concept. And the character designs are kind of emblematic of that. Like all these characters are like definitely based off like orcs or elves, all that sort of stuff, wizards, but they don't really, like their designs, they don't go full in on the magical element of it, so it just kind of comes off as uncanny. Also, I want to talk about the humor of this film. Now, humor in a Pixar film isn't always everything for me. It depends on what the film is going for. I think a lot Pixar usually nails humor pretty well. This film maybe the most unfunny Pixar film. It's competing with Cars franchise. It's like just not funny. And it stops a lot to tell jokes. Like it will do whole gags and bits of, oh, let's do this gag with like these biker like pixies. Not funny. Or let's do this part with like this little bit or that little bit. Like there's a lot of them and they're just not very funny. And I even showed in the opening, like they even took a joke from fucking Ratatouille. So I'm just not, I'm not, like the humor in this does not hit. This film is not a funny film and it really tries to be. Like it tries so hard and it spends a lot of its time slowing down the pacing of the film to make you laugh, and it is just not funny. It's not. It's painfully not funny. You tried. Not funny. So definitely a problem I have with it because it really tries to bank on its humor. And it doesn't. And it makes a lot of parts of the film fall really flat. This film doesn't really have that much charisma to it. And it's just not a funny film by any means. Moving on now to the characters. The film admittedly doesn't have a huge cast of characters. Really, I'd say the main cast includes the two brothers, the mom, I guess the dad, although the dad is sort of more of a figure than a character. And then you have the Manticore. The characters in this film are definitely not strong. They're definitely not strong. They try to do this cute thing with the dad by bringing him half back to life and have him be expressive. But I think that actually part is actually the one clever part of the film. They don't really do anything with it, but the characters. Oh man. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the mom or the Manticore too much. They're relegated to the B plot. I'm not a fan of them. I don't think they're necessarily bad, but they kind of come back to them to be like a comic relief sort of characters, and I don't think they're very funny. But, that is what it is. Mostly I want to talk about the two main characters, Ian and Barley, and they confuse me. The concept of this film is you have two brothers who are going on a journey to try to bring their father back, and it's about them sort of reconnecting with each other, and more specifically about Ian learning to accept Barley for how he is, and realizing that he was the father figure in his life besides his father. A very simple concept and theme. By the way, all the themes in this film, they're spelled out, including like the character traits, which I'll get, the characters have many moments where they explain how they feel or what this is, or explain what they're, who they are and their characteristics. It happens in multiple different points. I can't even point out one instance, but it happens so often that it, not a fan of that. I'm not even really harp on the themes too much. I will when we get to the characters and the writings, but I should just say all the themes are spelled out, which is a problem with the writing. But the characters, Ian and Barley, they try to kind of create this conflict with them, and the way their characters are designed is when you look at them, you think, oh, Ian is this nerd, and Barley is this like cool kid, rock kind of guy, and oh, okay, like maybe they're gonna do something cool with that, but then they don't, and it's not really that. I don't necessarily say they need to follow stereotypes or caricatures, but like there's no conflict then. Like the conflict is like Barley is this nerd, and then like Ian is this like less nerd, and Ian's like not into magic like Barley, and is like, oh, you're D&D, get that out of here. But like Ian looks like someone who'd fucking play D&D, so it's weird. So then I'm like, well, okay, Ian's magic, Barley's not, which is cool considering what they're trying to do here. But like, wouldn't it be cooler to have them maybe like they're both nerds, but maybe like Ian is like, his philosophy is he's like, Barley's philosophy is that he's like into this magic in the past, and that's set up. But like, wouldn't it be cool if Ian was like, no, dude, technology's how it's supposed to be, bro. Yo, we need to fuck magic, dude. We need to technologically advance. That's more important. That'd be a cool conflict to set up, and then Ian has magic, and that would actually be kind of interesting. And they could explore that. No, they don't have that. It's just kind of like, it doesn't make any sense. Like it doesn't feel like their growth makes any sense, because both characters are really flat, and Ian's just kind of like, yeah, bro, like, I don't know, I'm not really in the magic, I just kind of miss my father. That's his whole character, is where's my dad, and he's kind of socially awkward and embarrassed by Barley. And then Barley's just kind of obnoxious and in the D&D, and probably doesn't smell good. And it's like, yeah, like, okay, like, but there's no dynamic between them. Individually, not that interesting. Together, they're not that interesting. It's probably one of the weakest character pairings. Yeah, I can't think of anyone. I mean, I guess Lightning and Mater, I guess, are definitely worse. But like, you know, because these guys have at least some character traits, and we'll look at the ending in a bit. But yeah, not a fan of these characters. In any way, and they don't really they don't have any chemistry. Their performances, it's Tom Holland playing Ian, Chris Pratt playing Barley, and their performances are nothing special. Like, actually, I would say Chris Pratt's performance is actually not even good. Tom Holland's isn't bad, but he doesn't nothing special. But Chris Pratt's is I don't know, he doesn't really do the character justice. Like, I don't know, like it just feels like. It feels like these characters are very half-baked. Like, they're really missing a lot to them. And I'm not a huge fan of what they do with them at all. So, the film's structure and its writing, like I said, it spells out its themes. Its characters are super basic. Characters speak how they feel all the time. And this film follows sort of a quest to get this crystal to bring back their father, who's using a visitation spell. They only have 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The quest is boring. The quest really, I feels like someone who played D&D could come up with a better quest than this. Like, actually, they definitely would. I could come up with a better quest than this. I don't even play D&D. But it's like it's just like, oh, we go to the Manicor's lair, and then we gotta find the gem, and then we follow across this bridge, and then we follow these ravens, and then it's at this fountain. Like, that, the quest is just and there's some obviously set pieces and stuff, a couple here and there, like the pixies and all that stuff. But the quest just sucks. Like, it's kind of not interesting. It's pretty boring. Like, I think the invisible bridge section is like probably the most interesting conceptually and the most interesting set piece. Like, it's definitely the most tense with the bottomless pit. I kind of enjoy that. But that's really the only one. Yeah, the quest is just kind of boring, and you're kind of just waiting. You're kind of looking at your watch and going, all right, I want to see what's going to happen with this dad. Like, are they going to get him back? Are they not? That's really what I'm looking forward to. And the quest just seems to pad out time. And it goes on for, I think, too long. And it, maybe that wouldn't be an issue if it was actually interesting. And it just goes on for way too long. And I'm not interested in it, really, at all. Alright, so you can tell I don't like a lot about this film. I don't think it really succeeds in what it's going for. I think it fails in almost every way, except for its ending. This film has surprisingly a really good ending. Fantastic. Fantastic. A really good ending. There you go. A really good ending. I was very pleasantly surprised by how excellent this ending was, and the little twist at the end. So, you know, Ian is the protagonist. You expect him to get the time with the father. His whole character trait is father, I miss my father. And Barley kind of seems to be like, you know, he misses his father, but he kind of has, I think, he seems to be the one who's kind of gone past that and kind of, you know, just more mature and moved on, mature in a different kind of way. But at the end, Barley reveals that, you know, his last memory of his father is seeing him tied up to these these tubes in the hospital and wires and such. And, you know, there's a scene where Ian has a realization that all of his memories were, and all of his things that he was trying to do were with his brother, and that his brother raised him. So he lets him see this dragon that they have to fight. It's actually a pretty good fight scene. I actually like how they bring all the magic back. But during that scene, or before the fight scene, to distract the dragon, Barley says, I'm going to go and you can see your father. And Ian decides, no, you're going to get to see him. And we see all the magic he uses. He fights the dragon, and this kind of rubble of rocks appear, and his dad comes back, and Barley gets to say bye to him, but we don't get to see it, and that is really clever. I think if it showed Barley seeing the dad, that would have made this ending a lot worse. But the fact that this film is told actually entirely, pretty much, except for when it cuts away occasionally, through Ian's perspective. So when we get to see, Ian or not get to see, rather, Barley talk to the dad and see Ian's perspective of watching him far away, that's really clever. And the father disappears as they hug, and Barley comes back and tells him, like, yo, here's what the dad said, and he told me to give you this, and he gives him a hug, and he tells him on the ship, blah, 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 blah. I like that. I think it was actually, I could see people saying this is unsatisfying, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think this is actually a clever ending, because it actually is one surprising. It's a twist, but I think it works, because it really lets Ian's character growth and realization that his brother was the one that raised him, and sort of he was the father figure in his life, and how that shaped him is important, and that realization comes with him not seeing his father and say goodbye. I think that's really clever. I think it all works. I think the ending of this film is just really well done. I think it's emotional. I honestly cannot be strong enough on this ending. I think this ending is good. It is good. And I just really like that clever twist. And it almost feels like the film was sort of built there. It kind of feels like they came up with this ending first. Like I said, it's a really clever ending. Like they came up with the ending first, and then they came up with the rest of the movie. I don't know, just a theory, but yeah, it's like kind of really clever. And then I stopped watching this movie, and I had a realization. I was curious who directed this film. And let me. Actually, I probably should get his name. If we're going to talk about the director, we probably should get his name. His name is Dan Scanlon? Dan Scanlon. We're just going to call him Dan. So I looked at the director Dan, and I was like, what this fellow guy direct? And I saw his, director credits, and it was Onward and Monsters University. And I just kind of went, And then it clicked. And I thought for a second, and I went, holy shit. These two movies are the same. Obviously not in its structure, although they do contain like mythical creatures and monsters, but no, more like in my problems with the movies. Like, think about it. Both films, I think, are not super well written by any means. Both movies have a plot that go on way too long and aren't that interesting. In Monsters University, it's the scare games, and Onward, it's the quest. And both have really good endings. Yeah, I like the ending in Monsters University, and just like Onward, the ending, both those films, the best part. It's everything else. It's getting to the ending. And both films' second acts are the weakest. Like, almost entirely, my main problem with both of these films are the same. It's kind of crazy. And I was like, wow. I think the only difference is the two leads in Monsters University are better. I think Mike is a better protagonist than Ian. And I think Sully's a better co-lead than Barley. But, I don't know if that's not, I don't think, credit to Monsters University as much. Maybe a little bit. Maybe like this much credit. But mostly credit to Monsters Inc. because it set them up. And, it's not like you had the right original characters. You just had to base off those. It's a lot easier to do that. But I think outside of that, I like those two leads in that movie. And I don't like the side characters. Just like this film, I don't like the side characters. Every other problem I have with the movies are almost identical. Like, it's really crazy. So, Onward, in a sense, is really like Monsters University, and my criticisms of it and how I analyzed it. Like, I really think the two films have very similar strengths, very similar weaknesses, and just very similar, elements to them. It kind of makes sense that they were directed by the same person because, that's my issue with the film. So I guess I kind of spoiled where I'm ranking this film if you already know where Monsters University ranks. So sorry, I guess. But you don't know if it ranks higher or lower. So you don't know. You don't know. Does it? Well, Onward is not a great film by any means. Its animation is solid, of course, but its character designs can sometimes either not fit a character or be a bit too uncanny. This film conceptually takes an interesting concept like magic and muddies it down with its whole modern-day twist to it. The two concepts often don't mix in any super creative way and don't complement each other very well. The same can be said for the two leads, who are a bit generic, and the conflict between them seems confusing and really could have been handled a lot better. The film's biggest problem is its humor, which it seems to really lean into, and this film may be the least funniest Pixar film, competing with the Cars films for the least funniest Pixar film. Its themes are generic, and there are times where both the film's themes and a character's, character is literally spelled out in the film. The film's performances are not too great either, with some dull performances by both leads and especially by Chris Pratt. However, I absolutely love the ending to this film. While the quest was mostly uninteresting and flat, the ending is really good. The film felt like it was built around its ending and twist, one I really appreciate. It's just a shame the rest of the film couldn't support or build up to the ending sequence of this film. Onward transports itself right into a D rank. It really feels like it has a lot of the strengths and weaknesses of Monsters University and lands just below it. Oddly, this film nails often the hardest part to nail in any story, the ending. It just struggles with getting there and appears to be a Pixar film that will be harder to remember with each passing day. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Another film down in the ultimate Pixar tier list, Onward. Probably going to be one of the most forgettable Pixar films, I think. Truthfully, like it's kind of in Brave territory of like, wow, like it's already been a couple days and I kind of forgot a lot about it. Not a great film. Definitely one of Pixar's weakest, I would say. Yeah, I mean, obviously I ranked it. But just its ending, you know? I mean, I know Brave has a good first act, and that is in D. You know, I think Monster University has a good ending, and that's in D. And that's what D-Reg really represents, is it has potential. Like, there's good elements of it, like maybe an act or a scene or whatever. But outside of that, it really just fails. And that's Onward for you, and that's pretty much every other D-rank film. So there we go with that. That's Onward. Onward to our next film. It's not Onward. Came out the same year, though, and it's Soul. So, like I said, all these films going forward, all original, all films I have not seen. So I have not seen Soul before, or I've not watched Soul at any point. I know roughly of the concept. I watched the trailer when it came out. For some reason, this happened on stream the other day. I made the connection that when I heard the movie Soul, the first thing I think of is, oh, like it's about music, so soul music. Like I'm thinking soul music, and I guess that's what it's about. But then I also remember, like in the trailer, there's the actual like ghosts or souls, and it's like, oh, it's like the soul music, the souls. But honestly, like when I thought of the movie, I didn't even think of that aspect. So I'm gonna be kind of interested to see how they combine that. You know what? I honestly gotta say, this is one of the Pixar films I've heard talked about the least. I know it won an Oscar, but it seems like Disney Pixar almost always wins an Oscar. It just like the conversation around this film kind of maybe escaped me, but that also maybe because I didn't see it and I avoided it. But I'm interested again in this one. I'm a huge fan of music. A Pixar film about music sounds fucking awesome. They kind of already did it with Coco, which I love. So I'm looking forward to it. Soul music in general is one of my favorites. I fucking love soul. You know, I love all that shit. So this seems like a film that its concept is interesting to me. But we'll have to see. Of course, I'm watching it the same day this video comes out live on Twitch, description down below. And we will not be back for a little bit. I'll be taking 1 week off. Sorry, just one. 1 week off. I won't be streaming next week. I'm not going to be around, so I won't be releasing the Soul video. That's going to be 2 weeks away. But this should be my last break. I think I'll taking this week off. I'm not even taking off. I just have something going on. And then when I come back for the Soul video, we will just, I might take a week off after watching Turning Red, but we'll get the Soul video out, we'll get the Luca video out, and then we'll get the Turning Red video out, and then we will wait for Lightyear to come out and wrap up the tier list. So excited for that. But there we go. Onward to our next film. I can't say that, because then that means we're going backwards. Onward. We're moving forward to the next film. It's just, yeah. All I gotta work on my segues. On to the next film. I just did that too. I don't know how to end the video. How do I? Yeah. Onward. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. This video's ending is bad, which is the opposite of Onward. This is the anti-Onward video where everything's good till the ending. Oh shit. Bye.